Hi, here we are again at Crime Fiction Theater. It's a rather slow day at the theater. One, it's a Monday. Two, it's gotten cold, so that's a bad time of year for finger puppets. Puppets in general, people tend to be walking around with their hands in their pockets. So I've invited a guest lecturer today, and she'll be appearing on screen just in a few seconds. Hi there, my name's Pippi Longstocking. If you've read far enough in the class, you notice that Pippi Longstocking is a character in, well, not a character in, but a character referred to in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. At any rate, I'm a Scandinavian classic literary figure, so they invited me to stand in for Mr. Shakespeare today, who's off writing a play. And Sherlock, well, I don't know quite what he's doing. The last I saw was he shouted, "The game's afoot, Watson," and ran off. He does that a lot. I hate it when he does that. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about what makes characters in mystery fiction and what makes characters in mystery fiction different from, say, characters in comic books, superheroes, if you will. Well, the thing is, there's not a whole lot of difference in the early going. When crime fiction was being invented, often Sherlock and the rivals of Sherlock Holmes, and there were many of them, had special superpowers to make them even more efficient, even more effective, even more memorable as characters. Now, there's a whole series of volumes of writings by Hugh Green, who's the brother of Graham Greene, who was no mean mystery and suspense writer himself, but other rivals of Sherlock Holmes. And there are about 4 or 5 books in this series. They're rather hard to come by, and no, you can't borrow mine, but they're really worth seeking out in used bookstores, Amazon vendors, things like that. They're stories about other people besides Sherlock Holmes. We tend to think of Sherlock a lot. He's been the most filmed detective fiction character in history, but there was a whole lot going on in magazines and in books at that time that helped diversify and help strengthen the genre. Again, Hugh Green, the further rivals of Sherlock Holmes, the American rivals of Sherlock Holmes, Victorian villains, about 5 books in the series. And the characters are all not quite variations, but they are amateur detectives who have singular powers. Visually impaired people who can see into your soul and know that you've created the crime. Jacques Futrelle, the thinking machine. You've got Native Americans who rely on their spiritual fathers to solve crimes. You've just got all kinds of stuff going on. And again, the stuff makes you think, is this cartoon? Is this comic book? No, it's real literature, and the illustrated stuff didn't come later. How do you tell real characters, real literary characters, from comic book characters? Well, it's rather difficult. For one thing, you might want to look at the mask. Do they wear a mask? Do they have a costume? Or do they dress as normal people on the street would? If you have a character with a mask, perhaps she's going to have superpowers, powers far beyond those of mortal men. So a mask is a giveaway between comic fiction and more legitimate detective fiction. Also, the magic of videotape probably won't capture this all that well, but does the character also have a cape? It's a cape. It's a real cape, a velvet cape. Believe me, trust me on this. And if the character has a cape and a mask, chances are you're going to find illustrations rather than just text. At any rate, that's all I have for you today, and might want to put on your cape if you're going outside. It's gotten cold. Put your hands in your pockets. Talk to you later.